Rising high above the East Bay, Mount Diablo is a silent sentinel of nature, beauty, and timelessness.
For me, it was very grounding. It was that was like my beacon. It's definitely like a symbol of like home.
50 years ago, a small group of women and men who knew these mountains intimately and loved them deeply dreamed of preserving their natural state and wondered, what can we do to save Mount Diablo? A question as urgent then as it is today.
Things are changing so fast that, we really don't have time to waste.
What started as a dream to protect these peaks has led to the creation of more than 50 parks, the protection of over 120,000 acres, and a connective corridor to the rest of the whole Diablo Range.
It's not just any one person's accomplishment, it's everyone's accomplishment. Every single person who, puts on a pair of gloves and gets out there on the dirt and puts in a plant or protects a tree, it's a culmination of everyone's hard work.
A beautiful Mount Diablo is one of the most significant landmarks in the Bay Area and Northern California, and the centerpiece for one of the most diverse, unique, and important ecosystems in the entire state. Mount Diablo is also the focal point for an extraordinary conservation nonprofit born in the early 1970s to preserve the mountain itself. Now, 50 years later, that organization, Save Mount Diablo, is celebrating an amazing legacy of preservation success on the mountain and all around it, and is committing itself to even grander visions in the next half century. Beginning in the 1930s and continuing throughout her long life, botanist Dr. Mary Bowerman surveyed nearly every inch of these mountains and documented their unique mosaic of life. Mary and fellow conservationist Art Bonwell foresaw the imminent threats these lands faced from a rapidly growing population, and in 1971 founded Save Mount Diablo.
They saw development creeping up towards these areas that we now consider precious and must defend. They saw that as like, if we don't do something right now, they're going to be paved over.
They began by working to protect Mount Diablo's peaks and canyons, advocating for the conservation of open space and promoting the creation of new parks like Morgan Territory Regional Preserve and Thurgood Marshall Regional Park.
I'm astounded by their vision, their passion, and the seeds they planted basically allowed an organization, and all volunteer small organizations, to grow into a passionate, nimble, effective organization that punches above its weight.
In 1976, Save Mount Diablo began its work to expand public lands here by purchasing the Corner Piece, a property adjacent to Morgan Territory Road and Marsh Creek, and giving it to state parks soon after. It was the first of many such purchases, part of a vision to grow Mount Diablo State Park and connect it to lands south, down the Diablo Range.
Our core is still that more than 60,000 acres around Mount Diablo that still needs to be protected. We're going to keep on working on that for advocacy, and we're just adding into our toolkit lands further south to make sure that that 60,000 acres and everything that's already protected maintains connectivity to the entire Diablo Range.
As Save Mount Diablo looks to the future, it has to be strategic about where to focus its efforts. So when you think about land acquisition, what are you thinking about when you're out there, trying to determine how best to, to use those resources?
Well, connectivity is a huge thing. Are there preserved and conserved lands right next door? Is there water there? Is there a stream or a pond? If you have water in a place, there's going to be biodiversity there, and that's the next thing we're looking at, is what specific biodiverse characters are we trying to protect in those areas? Is there whipsnake there? Is there Mount Diablo fairy lantern there?
It's species like these that are at risk as new threats and challenges emerge, like climate change and more frequent and extreme wildfires. And Save Mount Diablo is relying on a new generation of leaders to help mitigate them.
It takes a village to do all of this stuff, and it takes a lot of time. And it really is just going to take the inspiration like we had from Mary and from our other partners that we've worked with, and it'll be for, we'll be the inspiration for the next generation to just do what we can to protect what we can when we can.
Protecting these lands is just the beginning. We also need to steward them carefully, and Save Mount Diablo's stewardship and restoration program relies on help from all of us.
We have a lot of different kinds of volunteer programs. We have different kinds of projects that we're working on that are all within the realm of stewardship. Typically we think of, restoration and putting plants in the ground, and that's absolutely a big part of it. But there's also this other side that involves, taking care of the land. We work with Mount Diablo State Park to do graffiti cleanup. We go out and do a lot of dump cleanups. We'll go and fix some fencing for cattle that, we have grazing projects. And so there's this other side of stewardship that is beyond just, the romantic side of things. But all is really important.
It's also important to get people out onto these lands, to experience the beauty and peace they offer, and to make their own connections.
The world is going so fast, and it's just really hard to take a moment, slow down, and just focus on nature. Our goal is to get people to care about nature. And through some of our programs, like the Discover Diablo hikes and outings program, it includes rock climbing and mountain biking, and we made it free for the public because we want people to learn more about nature through recreational activities. So then they're enjoying their time out there, and hopefully that's creating a relationship, a strong relationship between both the recreational experience, the nature, and just their joy.
A new property to explore is Mangini Ranch Educational Preserve. It's the headwaters of Galindo Creek, and with its oaks and chaparral, it's a great gateway to nature for people from throughout the region.
More access is always great.
More access, more people, more engagement, more support.
Exactly.
More people feeling as if this place is as deep in their bones as anything else they have in their lives.
Yeah, and it's always through having fun.
50 years ago, the founders of Save Mount Diablo asked the question, what can we do? Today, that answer can be seen in these majestic mountains, preserved for all of us, a gift of nature and a blueprint for turning hope into action.
Just starting where you are now and continuing with it and just sticking through it, all of those things really, really make a difference. And don't lose hope, be grateful, be grateful for what we have right now and live in the moment right now. Because, everything that we kind of see right now may not always be here.
Coming up next, a snapshot of Save Mount Diablo at 50.